Hey, what's up, everybody? BDL44 coming at you with another video. All right, man, this is very welcome weather right here, man. 74 degrees sunshine. This is the most beautiful thing to feel after basically 3 straight weeks of above 90-degree weather. Basically 3 straight weeks. Couple days in there where it was like 84, but mostly we've been dealing with some of the hottest weather we've ever seen, man. Walking in 107, 110 degrees, 99 on another day, 102 another day, 107 another day. I mean, it's been really hot at the end of August and the start of September. And so this is the first time in maybe 4 months, it feels like, where I felt this type of weather, like quite like this. I know I felt weather like this in Santa Monica going down there, but then I would return here and it'd be like 95 degrees. So you got to be careful with this though, because the contrast in weather could be flu type stuff, man. You can get the flu rather easily when temperature fluctuates like this is right here. But to say I'm not happy to be walking in 74 degree weather with the high today supposed to be like 82, I'd be lying, man. Been waiting for a day like this for weeks. Weeks and weeks and weeks. Now we're gonna get what would be considered cool weather, and it's going to potentially get even cooler as we go forward. I saw something that said as low as 70 within the next week and a half. So that contrast is rather strange, man. I don't know what's going on with the weather in this area. We go from 2 days ago being 107 to right now being 74. I don't know what to think of that. But I hope that the heat wave is behind us. Because it was one of the most intense heat waves of my life. Seriously. And for those in Arizona and Nevada, you're probably laughing at me, but I ain't never experienced nothing like this that lingered this long. Even when there was a heat wave maybe like 8 years ago that was so intense that it made the sky turn purplish, reddish. It was some of the most beautiful stuff I've ever seen in LA. Even then, it didn't seem like the heat wave lasted as long as this one did. That was like 3 or 4 days of like 110 or something like that, which was crazy as hell. But it subsided. This was just a slow bake and burn. That's what this was. A whole week of 85, then it go a whole week of 90, then you start getting them crazy hundreds. It was just blasting heat all the time. So yeah. We're finally past the heat wave, man. We are finally out of it. It's going to be cool for the next 2 weeks. And I couldn't be more happy. I'm going to get my walk on. Try to get my walk on just about every day. That's what this is today. I plan on going to grab some rice. So I'll do my Hollywood walk. And maybe try to do what I did last, I think it was Monday, where I hit 2 hills. I went up the main hill where I used to live. And there's a lead up hill on, I believe, Vine Street that leads up to my old neighborhood. I think I'll hit both of those hills today, see how my body reacts to that, try to build my strength up. Today is also the first day where I looked in the mirror with my shirt off and saw the imprint of abs once again, which is something I ain't been seeing at all this year. So we getting back in shape. All this walking I've been doing is really helping. And, you know, I added a few things to my workout. I added a rep to everything that I do. And we'll wait till we get past this car. It's having a little trouble. But I now do 106 squats on each set of my suitcase squats. 126 push-ups every time I do that. And I added 5 reps to my wing. I take my 8-pound weights and I pull them from my wallet to my shoulders, stretching my arms out. I was doing 50 every time I did that. I added 5 to that, so I do 55 every time I decide to do a set of that. So we're adding, man. We're adding to what we're doing slowly but surely, comfortably as I feel. You know, I'm not pushing myself to reach any limit. I was doing 125 on the push-ups for like almost a month now, and just decided to add 1 rep, and that's how I've been doing it the whole time. You know, sometimes I might add 2 and just continue to build and build and build. And I'm not seeing the definition in my chest that I want to see. We kind of got into a space where we're stagnant. As I started gaining weight, it felt like my chest was losing definition, but I never removed the reps. Never. So it's one of those situations where even though my body don't look like it's working, I know that we're continuing to build. Now, whether my body wants to shape up while it's happening or not, irrelevant. But we ain't moving away from no sets. We ain't moving away from no reps. And so that's what it really comes down to. I know that if I lose weight, I should look better than I did in December because I'm technically stronger than I was in December. But you just can't it doesn't look like it at all. It looks like I let myself go completely. But as long as the work's still being put in, there's no reason to really lose any sleep over it. That's the way I look at it. Just keep doing the work. So yeah, man, that's really my statement there. I didn't really have too much I wanted to talk about. The stuff that I've been paying attention to online is out of my pay grade, to be honest with you. There's a lot of people politicking online. I have opinions about stuff, but I ain't bringing none of that to my channel. Some stuff that I don't feel like it's in my best interest. It's not important enough to risk my life over having certain conversations, to be completely honest with you. When it comes to the Gaza thing and the Zionist thing, that's important. When it comes to the streets and people's politics, I ain't got nothing to do with, that ain't worth it. Just being honest with y'all. But trust and believe that has been the kind of content I've been paying attention to. And I really would love to chime in, but I just know better. What I can say is this, though. This is what I will say. A lot of times people on the internet from outside of this state, and this is not a new statement, I've said this maybe 3 or 4 times since having this channel. A lot of times people don't really have the context as to why people adhere to the politics of this city. Because in certain states, if not most states and most places in the world, every man is for himself. And if you are involved in communities or as they call it, gangbanging, it usually doesn't have a whole lot of roots. You probably ain't been doing it that long in comparison to this city where people have been literally doing this for almost 100 years. Because of the presence of how long it's been going on and how intricate some of the relationships are and how deep some of the conflicts are, it is ever so important to respect the ability for people to communicate and work together across communities. People who squash beefs and then rekindle beefs and various different things that have happened over the course of many, many years, and dare I say several generations, makes it so that you are not your own man out here when it comes to that arena. Although men are their own men, you can be swallowed up literally by the workings together of many against you. And that's the difference between this place and many other places. I've heard of one other place, in my humble opinion, that I compare to this place in regards to how it was described to me, how it's set up. And that is Afghanistan, believe it or not. And I ain't obviously never been to Afghanistan. I'm not a soldier, so I'm taking hearsay from people who I paid attention to describe the lay of the land. And essentially what they were describing was many different places. Let me get my head right. Many different tribes, more or less, coming from different angles from which are very difficult to terrain. You got people coming out of the hills, you got people coming out of the mountains, you got people coming up from the ground, you got people coming down from the mountain. So, and there's no real government. And a lot of these tribes beef with one another. So it's very difficult to conquer a place like that because you don't know where the enemy's coming from, you don't know who the enemy gets along with, and you're in the middle of a crossfire pretty much anywhere you stand. And there's no leading government there that'll otherwise supersede that which is the politics. That's what my understanding of Afghanistan is. It's not only the presence of tribes, but difficult terrain from which to know what's coming at you, to master the situation. Even if you bring your team in, you're in trouble. If you happen to not understand that and you adhere to the wrong politics there, you can be swallowed up by that. That's LA. That is LA. And most people aren't from places where that is the case. It's not this much land. It ain't this many tribes that go that deep into the roots of the place. You got the government itself for this city that is also implemented their point of view, but still have to adhere to certain things that are outside of even its control in some cases. You got the biggest gang in the city, which is the cops and their ties to the government. You got the street element and the black market, who also has ties to the government. It's a lot of different things working against each other. You got Hollywood in place, which is its own political space from which to behave a certain way in order to thrive within it. It's like, yo, it's too much going on out here for a man to just stand on his square and say F the politics. You won't survive the land. People will work together to get you the hell out of here. So people are ever so careful not to speak on certain things. It isn't because they don't understand the nature of their own strength as a man. It's because you're in the presence of connecting factions that can work in many different ways against you. So you need to adhere to the respect of the sensitivity of what comes out of your mouth, adhere to the respect of the sensitivity of who it is that you engage with, who you're seen standing next to. It's a very difficult place to live. And then you consider the ties to the street element and the politics that are taking place on the inside and the sensitivity of the relationships between the two. You find yourself in a position where it's best that if you are from out here or are out here, with how connected everybody is to one another, no matter where you stand, how easy it is to get to everywhere based on the freeway layout, it's in your best interest to just respect the politics as a singular man with a strong ego, civilian or otherwise. Now, it's very easy to avoid all of that if you stay out of certain things, because I'm living proof. I'm born and raised in the heart of Los Angeles. Went to church in some of these neighborhoods that some of y'all would say are really tough neighborhoods. The Jungle was right down the street from the church I went to as a child. You know what I'm saying? My ex-girlfriend's house was out in the dead heart of South Central in the Broadway area. You know, my auntie lived over there in the Inglewood area, around the corner from some of y'all favorite YouTube guys talking about Queen Street. Queen Street was right around the corner from where my aunt stayed. You see what I'm saying? So it's like, I'm from Los Angeles. With respect to everybody, this is where I'm from, and I was able to avoid the street element based on my mother's being a transplant from San Francisco here. So she didn't have ties to this area. She was coming out here on her own to chase her dreams. So when she got out here, she was able to immediately jump into the Hollywood area, and she was able to raise her son in the Hollywood area. But she's a black woman, so she frequented certain places. When she wanted to go to church, she go to black neighborhoods. When she wanted to, go to the mall and stuff like that, we in black neighborhoods. So it's like, it's very hard. I don't really know how my mother kept me out of the streets, other than I was wired a certain way to where when I got to a certain age where most people are impressionable getting out in the streets, I retreated back in the house. I think my psychology catered to also why I was able to stay out of these streets. But just the same, her upbringing in San Francisco allowed me a certain understanding of how to navigate through elements while staying out of them, but still adhering to the respect of them. And then from there, living out here just took care of everything else that I have understanding of. I think most people know I'm a square, so to speak. I think most people would also be shocked to understand that I know how to maneuver through circumstances that otherwise a lot of quote-unquote squares don't know how to maneuver out of or into, based on how I was raised and who I was raised by. I said all of this to say, ain't too many people like me. not in this regard. Squares who were born in the heart of Los Angeles as a black person, foundational black person, as many people like to point out the differences in all of us. I don't particularly subscribe to that, to be honest with you, but I hear everybody who's talking about it. I'm listening. Someone of slave blood, raised in Los Angeles, who doesn't find themselves affiliated with anybody's hood, but still understands to respect the intricacies of the politics in the land. I say this with love in my heart. Don't come out here thinking you're gonna frequent some of these places as a black person and not adhere to the respect of the intricacies of these politics. It does not work. It doesn't work. You can't say anything and everything you want to say around everybody. You ain't gonna just stand on your own too, holding your gun and think you ain't gonna be cornered from all corners. You know what I mean? This is not an open carry state, so a lot of y'all who think y'all your own man are from places where it's okay to just be holding AK-47 stuff like this. Ain't that. You get a year for that, you get some time for that. So it's a little more difficult to protect yourself in the presence of wanting to be your quote-unquote own man when you don't want to respect the politics. And that's what needs to be understood by a lot of people who are not from out here. It's very difficult to protect yourself if you're going to have that mentality and still try to frequent these areas. It's very difficult to secure your safety and secure you not being turned upside down and shaken, not literally, but like they take all your money, if you don't respect that people work together out here in a different kind of way. Nobody's a punk, so to speak, or a B, female dog, however you want to word it. Men are just as strong here as they are anywhere else. It's just that when you are in a place that no one person controls the environment, not even the powerful, there are things you're gonna have to adhere to. The wind gonna blow a certain way, and you can stand on your pivot, but if it blow hard enough, it's knocking you down. This is that type of environment. And a lot of people in this country don't know of an environment like that. They don't understand the context from which to respect an environment like that, and they find it against their ego in a lot of cases, or against what it is that they were taught to stand on their own too, without having to adhere to anything like that because they don't know the first thing about it. Context is everything, man. And if you lack context, you're gonna make certain mistakes that you can only make once. And that's the importance of me trying to have this conversation with y'all, because I ain't hearing people articulate it the way that I am. I ain't hearing people articulate. People are telling people to respect the politics, but they're not explaining to them what that means and why they should. Why you shouldn't talk on certain stuff. I heard this individual that I was watching, he was saying something about, I'm from a certain place that ain't LA. And Nipsey died out here. Why ain't y'all asking more questions? Why don't y'all ask more questions about what happened to Nipsey? Why y'all so afraid to talk about it? If he from over there, just say he from over there. Y'all men, right? Where I'm at, somebody do something. Where you at ain't here, bro. It ain't set up this way. It ain't got the roots this place got. People probably don't work together like they do in this place, as tricky as they could here in your area. You know what I'm saying? You don't have different things like this place does, man. You don't know the first thing about this place, and nobody's doing a good enough job explaining to you why people here are cautious. We're cautious, but because we've seen people like you who don't respect this lose their lives, get intertwined in stuff they can't get out of, find themselves in prison for the rest of their life for stuff that maybe they did not do. You don't control how the wind blows out here, man. I don't know how it is where you at, but listening to the people I've listened to, they're not from places that work like this. You may have real dudes out there who will really be ready to do real stuff, but they don't have to adhere to an environment that works together and is as complicated as this one. You pick up the wrong enemy, you got 100 people at your doorstep. And if you find your way out of that, you might have 100 more coming at you from a different direction later on. That's how real this place is. You standing on your pivot with your gun ain't gonna save you. You and your 5 dudes ain't gonna save you. All of y'all end up in trouble in situations. And it don't be simple. It don't be simple at all. So if you're wondering why people don't ask certain questions around here, it's because they don't want to find themselves intertwined in the web that is very, very complicated to get out of. And dare I say impossible, depending on how serious it is. You gotta respect those politics. No one man is bigger than the program. That's not just a saying. That's a lesson learned many times over. That's a lesson learned. Many a strong man believed that he was the strongest thing in the world and found a fate that humbled him strongly to give us all the example of why we need to respect, no matter how strong we believe ourselves are, no matter how real men we feel we are. You gotta respect that you don't control the environment itself. And if you're not from or have never heard of or haven't experienced this type of place, and you come here with all your brash ego, you're best to have ability to adapt quickly. If that's who you are and that's what you're doing, you had better have the ability to adapt quickly, because this is one of the most complicated places to live. And quite honestly, as a black person, I'm gonna say the truth. We're outnumbered. We're not the majority here. Not at all. We're not the majority here, bro. So that's something to think about as well. And so I just wanted people to have some context, man. If you're coming from out of town and the place you're from ain't very big, or maybe it is very big, but it don't have this type of roots to it, to the tribalism and the complications of different things that ultimately make it so that you have to adhere to certain things that make you humble yourself. If you don't have to humble yourself in the presence of anything, do understand when you get here, in order to survive, you will have to. It's just like going to a space that you don't know, that is very complicated in nature. That's basically what I'm saying. You got you the toughest guy in the world, but that person knows that person over there, and they coming from different angles, and they call somebody from back there, and they gonna get all of their homies, they gonna get all of their homies, they gonna get all of their homies. Tell me how your ego gonna get yourself out of that. That's Los Angeles for you. That's Los Angeles in a nutshell. And mind you, it's not simple, because communities could be made up of different types of people. I think a lot of people think this stuff is simple. Well, it's a black gang. No, they got gangs, quote unquote gangs, communities that are from a certain red or blue squad that don't have no black people in it at all. And they may be locked in with your black gang. You understand what I'm saying to you? Like, it's real in that way. You think somebody's coming up to you from a certain area when they really locked in with somebody that doesn't like you very much. You think somebody's coming to fix your plumbing, they really there to take you out. You don't know where they were sent from. That's Los Angeles for you. You understand what I'm saying? Like, it's real out here. It ain't always just shoot them up, bang, bang. No. People coerce people into circumstances that are bad if they want you out the way. It ain't as simple as just a gun, shoot, and we kill our ops with guns. People evolve through that, unfortunately. Just like any other big city. I'd imagine it's the same way in New York. You gotta adhere to the politics of places when you're from a place that's very simple in nature. Everybody does this, everybody does that, everybody got a gun, and it's about 20 miles of land across from one spot to the next. That's not Los Angeles, fam. That is not Los Angeles. That is not Los Angeles at all. And mind you, because of how long these communities have been in place, a lot of them have ties to your state. A lot of people branched out of this place and started up their communities 20 miles from you. You think you getting away from Los Angeles, a few phone calls get made and you get touched where you at. They drive for about 2 hours, they can reach you from anywhere. And that's the problem. You think you overseas, same thing. You think you overseas. You got into it with some community out here. and then you flew to Germany or something. What you gonna find out is they got tiresome people over there too. A few phone calls, you find out you got people on your doorstep there. Like, how the hell? Because you got into it with some people over here. That's the truth. It's the truth, man. And so people wonder why LA dudes, in a lot of cases, have what people are calling a superiority complex. It's because we understand how far the reach goes, depending on the branch that's coming from this place. We know how far the reach goes. Nothing I said was an exaggeration at all. You think you escaping somewhere that ain't got nothing to do with this place, and all of a sudden somebody from here reaches somebody from there to reach you. It's just what it is. It's Los Angeles. It's Hollywood, man. It's Hollywood. And the rich are stacked on top of the poor. They're on top of each other. You go down 1 block from Hollywood Boulevard, you're in somebody's hood. You go 2 blocks from somebody's hood and you're in somebody's Beverly Hills. That kind of thing, man. No. It's not a simple place. And if you have a simple mind, you could simply destroy it out here. It is that simple. You will adhere to the politics of this place. That's the reality of it. Real rich people know that. You've heard of rich ball players coming out here and all of a sudden getting tied in with some of these units in these areas. We've heard of it. Some of the biggest stars in the world, they got stories out there with them getting involved in stuff like some of the politics in these streets out here. Guys from all the way across the country, they want to get tied in to communities out here because that's how far the reach can go. What about your favorite dude from Ohio? He from a hood in San Diego, that kind of thing. Like, your favorite dude from Texas is from a hood over here. Your favorite dude from New York is tied in with hoods over here. And that doesn't even take into account other aspects of the situation. Like other people, like I said, the majority, and what they can reach down to, all the way down to the bottom of South America, all the way up to the top of Canada or whatever. Like, you just gotta understand where you're at. If you're talking about Los Angeles and you want to get involved in the politics, and you see a California native being careful about how he speaks, it's not because he's a punk. It's because he's from a place and in a place that has basically unlimited reach all over the world. Basically. And so he can't escape the accountability of whatever comes out of his mouth or whatever it is that ultimately he does. You will not be able to easily escape that. That's the problem. That is what it is. So that's what I want to explain to people. That doesn't mean that we got the hardest dudes in the world necessarily. I think a lot of people get that twisted with one man versus one man. Because I heard something like that on the internet. Oh, you from down there? Well, I'm from over here. So if we see y'all, it's like, nah, that's not what makes you strong. You got to understand what makes you strong if you're from Los Angeles. It's not one man versus one man. It ain't simply as simple as, because I'm from LA, I'm going to be able to outbox anybody from anywhere else. That's not what makes you strong. What makes you strong is your numbers and your reach. That's what makes you strong. So never get it twisted to say that you got the hardest or the toughest just because you're from Los Angeles. That's not what makes you strong. You may very well find a guy from San Diego that can outbox you. You may very well find a dude from ATL that can beat up every single human being one-on-one that you run into out here. You may very well. But he can get roped into something that he don't know how to get out of if he's out here. That's the difference. That's what makes this strong. People run game on him out here and he won't even see it coming. That's what makes this place strong. It's the web itself, not the spider. It's the collection of spiders, not a single spider. Essentially what I'm trying to explain to y'all. So yeah, you damn right. I think that you may find stronger, hearts in some other places. You know what I mean? Somebody that may be tougher, may be found in Georgia than in Los Angeles. Sure. You may find a more lethal killer in Chicago. Most definitely possible. But the politics of this place will make it so that even the toughest of the tough can find themselves out of here rather quickly. Rather quickly. And it won't never even come to no fisticuffs. You know what I'm saying? It'll be a finesse game. It ain't a poison or something. Like that's what makes this place strong. And so I just want people to understand that when they listen to these different individuals on the internet from outside of this place, trying to understand why people in this place behave a certain way. It's because the place itself is very difficult to maneuver around without respecting such things. You have to respect such things, or you got to stay out of such things. And if you're not smart enough to do one or the other, you're going to find out. You're going to find out the wisdom that everybody else learned before you when dealing with this place, man. And it's something else that's very important, and we talked about this. Rest in peace to PNB Rock. The prime example. Just because the people mess with you, don't mean that there won't be a few people who are starving enough to try you. That's a lesson that we learned from PNB Rock. He come from a real neighborhood in Philadelphia. Real neighborhood. Same thing with Pop Smoke. Come from a real neighborhood in New York. Had people who would probably have co-signed his presence in LA. You know what I'm saying? He was part of a community that was very well respected out here. But because of the politics of this place, they still end up losing their lives. Because of the desperation of this place, they still end up losing their lives. And because of the complications of the politics themselves, it's hard to pinpoint where it's coming from. So you can get mad at LA for not asking certain questions about these circumstances, but then you got to understand why a logical mind wouldn't. That context is lacking. Don't just come out here with your perception of the love that you would receive from all the people from all over the world, because this ain't all over the world, it's Los Angeles. You understand what I'm saying? Maybe you don't. Maybe I haven't done a good enough job of explaining this. But this is not the place to come to believe and behold that the love and energy that you get from everywhere else is going to be the same love and energy you get from here in the trenches. I can go to any hood, I'm fine. Yeah, but out here, you may want to get to know some of these people out here before believing that you find everywhere. Because you got people out here who freelance, freelance in such a way that even if you tapped into the utmost, you still don't see them coming. And that's the importance of the check-in factor. I think people think it's a check-in. You got to check in with LA because we the biggest, we the baddest, and it's like a sun in you type of thing. No, it's not a sun in you type of thing. It's a PNB Rock type situation, preparation and prevention process. That's what checking in is really about. That's what it's really about. Because if PNB Rock would have checked in, so to speak, and had the right people with him, he would have been able to sit at that place. And as soon as those freelancers came through the door, thirsty, looking to rob something, they would have understood immediately that the environment they in was not going to make it so that they would pull that off. Or if they would have tried something immediately, one or two things would have happened. Either a situation would have got neutralized, or they quickly would have had to return the property that they stole. You understand what I'm saying? The politics would squeeze them in such a way, even though they freelancers, to where he would have his chain back in a few days. That's the reality of this place. That's why you check in. It's not because people want to little boy you. It's because this is a political space, and we know if we have your back, so to speak, then we have yet another reach, another arm from which to reach whatever we want to reach in other places. So when you go back home to where you was at, you tapped in with us. That's how the mentality works. It's not about little boying anybody. It's about continuing to extend the reach of these various communities. So we're going to have your back when you come out here, because we know because you tapped in with us, and because you know that we about your best interest, you're gonna have our best interest over there. And it's a tricky place, so you're gonna need people to have your best interest in it. So it's like, that's what that's about. People got it messed up. It's not about little boying you. Now, some people are gonna try to extort you, which is why you want to tap in with the right people. Some people scandalous. They don't have no respect for nothing. That's furthermore the environment of the trickiness of the place. Not everybody who wants you to tap in is thinking bigger picture. Some people want you to tap in so they can little boy you. There's no perfect science. But the reality is, if you're not tapped in, it can be a situation like P&B, where you don't know where you're going necessarily. You thinking it's going to be fine, and all of a sudden some people that just are starving come in on a crash out mission. When you ain't got nobody to back you up. You can't carry legally. You see what I'm saying? So you can't even defend yourself. As to where if this was like Georgia or something, it'd just be a shootout. Nah, P&B couldn't hold nothing. Not legally. This ain't open carry. So furthermore, you're gonna need some people who are tapped in such a way to be able to navigate you away from places of threat, tell you where to tuck your chain in so you know you're around the corner from the trenches. Situations like that can be prevented if you know who to talk to and then they know what the hell they're talking about. Guiding you away from certain threats, telling you who you need to know in them situations, maybe making a phone call around the corner so that all you got to do is text, hey, I'm in trouble, and you have somebody in your house, in your space 3 minutes from then. You see what I'm saying? You give yourself an opportunity at your own web when you communicate with the right people in this area and you have them having your back, basically. But if you got this ego thing, I don't check in with nobody when I go nowhere, you're on your own. You're on your own in this spider web of a place. You're on your own. Whatever come after you, I couldn't save you from it. This is between you and God at that point. And this place is tricky. And so that's why I wanted to make this video, to help people understand the complexities of this place. If they happen to tap on my face, I feel like I'm articulating this a bit better than most of the people who otherwise understand it well enough to respect it. Because I have yet to hear anybody articulate this thing properly. Oh, you just got to check in. No, why? Because that's how LA is. Nah, they need to know why, fam. They need to understand what it is that's coming after them if they happen not to have friends out here and they want to come out here rich and they chest out, have a slick mouth, or whatever the heck it is. Nah, fam. No. It's too damn tricky. You know, maybe they players. They like to deal with a lot of women. Nah. Because that girl might be related to so-and-so. Because that girl, ex-boyfriend crazy and he's from so-and-so. You ain't just dealing with one man now. You're dealing with his whole hood. They're going to come back around, ask questions later after they finish taking care of whatever would be a threat to him. Maybe they discipline him for putting him in that situation, but they're going to come and have his back first. So that means you're dealing with a whole clan of people just because you on the right side of a situation. All you was trying to do is get some action. You didn't know this dude was obsessed with that woman. You didn't know she was lying about her age. You didn't. A million different things can go wrong, and you can have a million different people at your doorstep, whether you right or wrong, in this place. Just off of the strength of the politics and the agreement of those politics, which are tied to other things that ain't got nothing to do with you. But they ain't going to betray that because it makes all that fall apart over there. It's like, yo, fam, if you ain't from a place like this, don't think that you can move like you're home in this place. And when people adhere to politics, this is exactly what it is they're trying to take into account. People will posture a certain way just to keep what they got going on. And you don't even know what the hell that might be. Everybody out here trying to get something. So it might be in my best interest to have his back, even though he's wrong. Now you in trouble dealing with me. Like, that type of stuff, man. You just don't want to play with this place like that. You don't want to play with this place like that. Especially if you're black or brown, you don't. You will adhere to certain politics. And a lot of y'all like, well, I'll crash out. Well, you may not want to survive that. Because in politics definitely reach inside these prisons and in these jail cells. And whatever you do out here, it's a damn good chance you get held accountable for in there. That's another point of context that people need to understand. Because maybe where you from, you be like, well, I'll just crash out. I'll do life. You don't want to do life out here. Not if you ain't going to adhere to politics. Not if you're the type of person that can't adhere to authority or what have you. You do not want to be inside in this place. Not at all, friends. And you ain't got no ties to nothing out here. You will when you get in there. You definitely going. If you want to survive that, you're going to. Don't go in there thinking you your own man. None of that. And you a freelancer? Psh, listen, man. I'm trying to explain something to people. The best thing you can do in this place is stay out of these streets. Don't come here playing in the streets. That's the best thing I can tell you. Don't come here playing in the streets. Because although we talk about how the blacks out here may not have the structure, it's starting to come together more and more so. People are starting to respect it more and more so. So it could even be more structured later on than it is right now. As to where this is even more important to adhere to if you're black. If you're brown, from what my understanding is, you already be on program. You already better be on program. Respect. You better already be on program. You better already respect all that. But blacks, yeah, might be able to skate through the cracks in certain situations based on my loose understanding. But that is starting to come to an end, man. That's starting to come to an end. So I'm telling y'all, man, it is what it is. And that includes other races too. There's a program out here, man. You know what I'm saying? And everybody has their own thing going on. And it's so important to respect it. So I don't want people to think that LA people just run around fearless or stupid or whatever the word would be that makes it so that there's a negative connotation upon the behaviors of people out here. I think it's complicated now that everything's on the internet, but I think that's an element or a branch of this tree, so to speak. And people are utilizing that tool of the internet to further politic however they want to. And it's starting to get a little weird in that way, but I'd imagine it will iron itself out. But this is not the place to just come in running head first with a chest out talking about I'm my own man. I'm coming out here and I'm gonna say what I want to say about who I want to say it, and that's it. This is not the place. Maybe every other place but this place is not the place. Or rather vice versa. Maybe everywhere else you can do that, but here you cannot. Not without dealing with consequences that are harsh in nature, man, harsh in nature, and rather tricky in trying to describe it. You know what I mean? And I just feel like in listening to other people and how they talk, they have a much more simpler way of handling themselves and handling their environment. It's a much more simpler way of living in the streets or whatever. Being from the streets is a lot more simple-minded, so to speak, in a lot of people who I've listened to. We do this do that, go get money, do that, stand on my own, hold my gun. That's it. Like, nah, man. Oh, too many people work together. Too many people have too much history working together. And you don't know who's who. With peace treaties coming left and right and new foes coming left and right. You don't know who getting along with who now. Somebody you thought was cool 2 weeks ago, they ain't cool no more. So now you stand next to them is going to offend them. You're just fine 2 weeks ago. Like, that's how this place is. There ain't nothing staying the same. It's ever changing, evolving. It's ever fluid in nature. And most importantly, it is tricky as hell. Very complicated. So that's what I want to tell all of us, everybody who listen. Everybody standing on their own too. I'm my own man. I'll do what I want to do. I'll talk what I want to talk. Just know what just be ready to die for that. That's basically what I'll tell you. Just be ready to die for that. And in doing so, you know that it wasn't necessary. It wasn't ever necessary. BDL 44. I thank y'all for watching. I'm out.